Hi, and welcome back to art class. This week we're going to wrap up our pattern scarecrow. Today we're going to be mostly focused on the coloring. We're going to do a little bit of drawing, and then we might be using some watercolors. So you are going to need a few items. So you need obviously your picture. You're going to want your box of crayons. Watercolors are handy, but if you don't have watercolors, you won't have to use them. It's just something I want to show that is possible to kind of enhance your picture. Another thing you might want is a pencil. I won't be using the pencil today, but you might, and I'll explain when we get to that part. So I'm going to put my watercolors off to the side and focus on my crayons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be coloring the shirt, and I'm going to put the speed through it so you can just watch me do it pretty quick, and then I'm going to slow it down to talk about how to do the head and some of the background. When you are coloring the shirt, remember everything is still in pattern, so even your colors should still end up as a pattern in these areas. So you'll need to choose your colors appropriately. You'll have pretty wide range of whatever you want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'll see you back when I get to the head. All right, so now I've completed the shirt, and we're going to move on to the actual head and hat area. They're actually pretty easy to do. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color the actual head. The head is usually made out of burlap when we have a scarecrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brown, and I'm going to very, very lightly fill it in. Don't worry about covering up the mouth. I know it's just a line. Okay, so the mouth should be some kind of red. So I got this reddish color here. It doesn't have to be perfectly red. So we have our line here. Oops, there we go. I should have like our cheek lines. And then remember we have the little tiny stitch lines inside here because remember they're stitching on a smile. Then it comes to the nose. The nose is usually a patch of some kind, like a smaller patch from the shirt or something like that. So what they do is you just kind of fill that in with a color. I'm going to use this orange color. And if you want to put in a couple stitches, going around it, you can. You don't have to, but it's just an option. And then you have the two eyes. Well, the two eyes can be pretty much whatever color they want. They should be matching though, that makes the most sense. But the eyes are usually buttons. And since buttons come in pretty much any color, you may pick pretty much any color that makes sense. So I'm gonna go with this bluish color. Fill them in. And if you want, and you're super careful, let me see if I can find my black. Oh, there it is. You could put like a little tiny, and I know they're super hard to see, dots in their eyes. And what those dots would be like the little tiny holes for the actual buttons. You do not need to do that. That's just a little extra option if you want. If you're not sure if you can do it neatly, practice it on the back paper or on a separate piece of paper first, just to see if you can do it neatly. All right, now last I have is the hat here. The hat for me is kind of like a straw hat. So I'm gonna color it with this dandelion. It's a little bit orangish yellow. And I'm gonna fill it in. Your hat will be whatever color you think it should be. Okay, now basic picture is done. Next, I want to add some corn stalks because this guy's gonna be in a cornfield. Or girl, could be a girl. So if you wanted to make it a girl, right now mine looks like a boy, but if I added some long hair to the side, that would work really well for a girl. So that is something else you could add as well. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do the stalks. They're not really hard. I'm going to pick this yellow-green color, and what we're going to do is we're basically going to draw a straight line going behind our scarecrow. It's one of the reasons why these corners needed to be empty, because there's nothing here. It's with the arm up. This is the underside of the arm. So we're going to go like this, and it's going to come straight up, and it needs to be pretty tall. And I'm going to have one matching one over here as well. Go up. And again, it should be pretty tall. Like that. Now the leaves for a corn stalk are pretty easy. They're basically the letter M. So let me show you what I mean. Up here on the top, they're kind of small. And if you look, it looks like an M. And then we do a little bit underneath. Like that. And you can fill that in. Now, some people would be like, well, I want to draw this in pencil first, and that is okay. I'm going to go ahead and draw that straight, everything in crayon at this point. So there's my first set of leaves. Then I'm going to add a slightly bigger set of leaves. And as they get bigger, they might go off the page a little bit, and that is okay. One of the reasons why I'm using this lighter green while I'm doing this is because this time of year the corn is turning to a yellowish color because it's at the end of its growing season, and that's going to be harvested. Alright, so the one down here is going to be pretty big because the ones at the bottom of corn are pretty big. Notice it looks like it's going behind the scarecrow. Okay, next I want to put in some actual corn. So I'm going to find my yellow. Where did I put my yellow? There it is. There's my yellow. And what I'm going to do is, it's going to be kind of an oval shape. Normally corn doesn't show that much. It's usually wrapped up in leaves, but for this project, I'm going to make it stand out a bit. So I'm going to put my corn right there and right there. You can put up to 2 corn cobs on your corn stalks. Normally, corn does not have more than 1 or 2 corn cobs on there, simply because that's just how it grows. And then at the top here, I'm going to put some tassels growing off the top. And I'm doing those in yellow because those turn yellow pretty quick after they're grown. Okay. Then we have one more thing to draw. This is a scarecrow, and so we need some crows. Now with the crows, what I need is, we're going to use 2 basic shapes to create them, an oval and a circle. So I'm going to do one that's standing on his arm here. And the oval I'm going to draw is going to probably overlap a little bit with the green, and that's okay because the black will cover it up. So I'm going to make my oval just a little bit above the arm, like it's floating just a little bit above. I'll explain why in just a second. I think some of you probably can figure it out. Then my circle is for the head. So I'm going to put a circle for the head. Now we're not going to have to worry about eyes because crows have black eyes, so they're going to be kind of hidden in the feathers. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a beak on, and then, as some of you probably guessed, I left some room for the legs. Now, some people are like, Mr. Sanders, I want it to be so it looks kind of like they're flying or maybe landing. Well, I'll show you a way to do that. I'm going to put a crow up here landing on the hat. So it starts out the same way. So I'm still going to have an oval. Then I'm going to have a circle for his head. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the beak because we know how to do that. And I'm going to do the legs so it looks like he's landing. Okay, now we're going to need their wings to be spread out to the side. It's kind of easy. It's kind of like the M's here, but these are sharp. We want curved. Like that, curved. And then it just kind of comes back in. Again, this might be something you want to try on the back of your paper on a separate paper first. And then their wings are black, so we would color this black. I want you to make at least maybe 2 crows, but don't go past 4. As you can see, the paper's not super big, and if we add too many, it gets a little too crowded. You can have them landing on the hat, you can have them landing on the corn, but it does not make sense to have them in the middle of the shirt or in the middle of the face. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let's try to do it in places that it does make sense for them to be. All right, so here's the last part. That's where the watercolors come in. So you would need your watercolors, and obviously you would need some water and the brush to go with it. Now, this can be done with just crayon or colored pencil or whatever you happen to be using. But what's really interesting about crayon is because it's made with wax, it doesn't like to stick with watercolors. So we can paint around this pretty easily and it will look really good. Okay? So there are 3 main colors I want to do. You can do for the sky. You don't want to do them all together because that would not look good. But one of the main colors is blue. And that's kind of obvious. It's blue sky. But in the fall, we have a little bit more yellow skies, like a sunrise. Okay? And we have something a little bit in the sunset where you would have a little bit more orange. So what I'm going to do, because I see a lot of yellow in here, and I don't want to do a blue sky. I do blue all the time, so I'm going to do an orange sky. Couple things to be careful of with paper. We don't want to work the same spot too much, so it's paint and then move on. So like this, you're just going to paint an area, try to be neat, and then move on. If we get just a smidge on the crayon, it won't hurt the crayon at all. But we don't want to be sloppy either. I know some people that, oh, it doesn't stick. Well, if I keep working this one spot over and over again, so if I work like this leaf over and over and over again, eventually it will start to stick, and I don't want that. So there is a limit. Okay, now what I would do is maybe go back and do some touch-ups. Just stay out of the shirt and the head as much as possible. As you can see a little bit that in the corners here, my paper is soaking up the color. So a little bit of it you're not going to be able to get away with just because of the paper wanting to soak in the paint. But otherwise, once you're done and you've let it dry, let it dry for a little bit, then I need you to snap a picture of it and put it on Seesaw, just like we've done for the other projects, so I can take a look at it and get it recorded in the grade book. And I will see you guys next week for our next project.